Hey, what is going on YouTube? It's CJ back in the flesh. Welcome to another episode of the Be Easy Reef. I know a lot of you guys have been wondering, been dying to know, why did I switch from the Orphek lighting system to the AI blades? And we're going to discuss that this video. Not only we're going to discuss that, I'm going to try to do a little quick comparison of some of the top things that I noticed, the differences between the lights, and maybe give you guys an idea of why I ended up making the change. So before we go any further, if you have not had a chance to watch either of the review videos for the Orphek lighting system or the AI blades, go back and watch those videos. I took countless hours putting that together, and I would appreciate it if you go and watch that to get the full taste and breakdown of those lights. This one, we're going to kind of skim over a majority of what I've covered in those reviews, but more for comparison's sake and hopefully to answer the question that you may be asking yourself which direction to go, or at least answer why I end up making the change. So full disclaimer, all LED lights grow coral. So let me just say that. When I say all, meaning the Orpheks and the blades both will get the job done, and it really just comes down to preference and what you want your tank to look like. So without further ado, let's jump into it. Let's go. So the first topic of discussion is gonna be the build quality and how easy is it to install, or at least get the initial setup going for each of the lights. So we're gonna start off with the AI blades. Of course, the unboxing's easy, just open them up, but the overall impressions, very sleek, very low profile, and the weight of these lights is something that is not much to hang on your tank, and that definitely are all pluses. Now, when it comes to setting it up, you actually go through Mobius, have to do a firmware update, and it's pretty much plug and play. It'll automatically detect them via Bluetooth, and it just hooks up to your phone, and it's pretty easy to set up. Now, I will tell you, when it comes to the lights themselves, only issues I would say is going to be the seals on the outsides. It's just like a rubber gasket, and if you're not careful with them, you can break that seal, which will ruin the waterproof capabilities of these lights. So the next lights is going to be the Orpheks. Now, this is also including the OSIX controller. So you get the bars and you get the controller, which is separate, which allows the bars to be synced together, allows them to be linked together, and controlled with the newer app or the technology they designed for this. So when it comes to the build themselves, these bars are definitely a lot heavier, a lot thicker. They don't bend. They feel like solid aluminum, and they definitely are built to last. I would compare these to more like a diesel truck, and I would compare the AI blades to more like a Hellcat, if that makes sense. You don't want them to run into each other because the diesel truck will win. Now, when it comes to the interface, you have to have the OSIX controller, which is a negative because it's not built into the lights. But the positive, it's one plug. So one outlet on your power strip allows you to hook up to 6 Orphek bars, as opposed to the AI blades having their own power source for each bar itself. So that is a major difference worth noting. Both bars, both sets of bars, both companies do have waterproof capabilities, so not going to really mention that. Now, when it comes to setting up the OSIX, you do have to go through a little trouble of linking the OSIX to the Wi-Fi, and then once you do that, you're able to go into the app, which is kind of made for multiple things, which is a little different. You can tell that they're not specifically designed, or did not specifically design this app just for the lighting system. It connects to all kinds of things. So once you get it sorted out and you get it linked up, it is pretty straightforward. It doesn't really give you a lot of different options. Once you connect it, you hook the bars to the OSIX, 6 available channels, and whatever channel you hook the lights to is going to supply power to the lights, and then you're pretty much set. Now, when it comes to the mounting options, both lights have a few different things available, whether it's hanging them from the ceiling, which the Orphek is a little easier to hang because of the sliding nut kind of setup, but this also means you have to get the perfect kit for it, or you're going to be at Home Depot trying to do some kind of DIY situation, or whatever you have to do to get this aluminum railing locked into place on whatever way you choose to mount it. So for me, I ended up getting the kit from Orphek. I'm not sure how easy it is to get that kit now because I haven't had these lights for a few months. Maybe they've made improvements, but this is the way I ended up mounting it on the stand, which is all aluminum, supposed to be rust free. Now, when it comes to the AI blades, total different situation. You can either mount these right on the tank with the included brackets that are on the lights, or remove the brackets, and you can purchase any of the HMS mounting kits and rails and clips, and pretty much just snap them into place, just like I'm showing you. But something worth noting is going to be the size difference and the weight difference of both mounting options. And that is something to consider. The 5 Orphek bars were almost double the weight of the 4 AI blades and HMS mount. So the next topic is going to be, how do the lights look, at least to the naked eye? And I'll tell you 100%, the AI blades are blinding. When you look at these lights, they really put off a lot of light, and it tends to go everywhere. As far as the spread, it's not really focused. Now, we'll also mention they do not provide the full spectrum of LEDs like a Radeon would, meaning you don't have access to any red, you don't have access to any warm whites or greens or any of those other types of colors. They do provide all the blues, the UVs, and cool whites to provide their spectrum. Now, when it comes to the Orpheks, major difference you'll notice, you see all the different color LEDs and diodes. You got your reds, your oranges, your whites, warm whites, cool whites, UVs, and royal blues, and pretty much every kind of blue you can think of between all of the different variations of bars they have available. And when it comes to the glare, you can actually look at these lights with the naked eye without feeling like you're getting your retinas cooked. So it's definitely a difference in the focus of the lighting, for sure, worth mentioning. So the next question is going to be installing. Now, because I chose both on the tank options, I can directly compare these two, and it basically turned out to be a 2-person job versus a 1-person job with the AI blades. Orpheks were just too heavy and felt too risky with that much weight on the glass without securing it first, as opposed to the HMS mounts and the AI blades being a 1-person job, easily setting it on the tank and just installing it and doing the screws, and it was pretty much all you had to do. Very easy setup. Now, when it comes to how they look, I would say both setups have their own cleanness, if that makes sense, but in a different way. When you look at the Orphek lighting, it really feels like more of a industrial style type of light, meaning maybe a core grow facility or something you're not going to have to see as often, as opposed to the AI blades. Physically, just look way cleaner, way sharper, way smaller, and way less intrusive on the tank. And that would be the way I would describe it. Now, did it look bad in person? Absolutely not. But when you're comparing two different lights and you've actually had a chance to see them both on the tank, you really notice the difference between the gray aluminum bars, being the exact width of the tank, versus the AI blades, which were a little smaller at 30 inches, a lot slimmer, and a lot less intrusive. Now, something else I want to mention is going to be the color blending of these lights. If you pay close attention to the side shots, you'll see that the AI blades, you can barely see any difference in the bars, as opposed to the Orpheks. You can clearly see on the back side of the tank where the sky blue bar was, where the white reef day bar was, where the royal blue and UV. It really was clear where and what bars you had on the system, and that definitely is something worth noting. Now, when it comes to the AI blades, I ended up going with four bars, 2 grows and 2 glows, in alternating fashion, and that combination really gave me a seamless look and blanket of light over the tank. So when it comes to the difference of the lights, the Orphek lights definitely have a lot more color variation to the LEDs, and definitely is noticeable when you're looking at the tank. But when it comes to the blending, I would say the AI blades definitely are winning that battle for sure. But it doesn't mean both lights don't look amazing. As you can see, this shot definitely looks really good. Now, the only bad part was I never got to see the tank fully loaded with corals underneath the Orphek lighting, but just looking at the tank with just clean and clear rock work, you can definitely see the color spread and the coverage of these lights being mounted so high. So now we got both lights installed. Let's take a second and check out the software available to control the lights. We're going to start off with the OSIX software from Orphek. Now, I will mention this right away. You cannot control the individual LEDs on the lights themselves. You only have the option of controlling the power to each bar hooked to each channel. So channel 1 could be a reef blue, channel 2 could be, a reef day, and you can't control the individual colors on those bars, meaning you can't turn up the reds, you can't turn down the greens. All you can do is dim the power on those specific channels, if that makes sense. That was something that I didn't realize until I had my hands on those lights. It was a slight disappointment, but I also understand why that was the case because of the way they have their software set up. There is one thing worth mentioning as far as a dope feature that is on it. It's going to be the lunar phase, which actually allows the Orphic lights to dim down to 0.01%, which is the dimmest light I've ever seen on a reef tank, but they are capable of it. Other than that, they all have the same normal effects: cloud cover, storms, schedulability, and they also allow you to run your schedule as a preview, which was also a pretty nice feature. So moving on to the AI blades, definitely major differences worth noting. First being two things they do not have that the Orphic lights do is the lunar cycle that allows you to run down the lights to 0.01% and up. The AI blades only go down to 1% and they will shut off for anything below that setting. And you also have to leave your lights at a minimum of intensity of, I believe, 5% for the lunar cycle to do the calculations and dim them according to the lunar phase. The second thing I want to mention is they do not have the ability of previewing your full schedule for the day like you can with the Orphic. I know some people may not care about that, but it definitely is a plus for me to be able to hit a play button and see the lights go up, go down, ramp, the colors, how it's going to look through the full day, in a 30-second time slot. So, two things worth mentioning. And now we're going to get to the things it does that the Orphic does not, which is a lot of controllability, meaning you have the power of linking and grouping the lights together, which you can't do on the Orphic. And you also have the ability of controlling the individual colors coming from each bar. So, when it comes to the grows allow you to control the cool whites individually, the royal blues, and I believe the cyan or the teal. I'm not sure what color that is coming out of it. And then when it comes to the glows, you have full control over the UVs, the royal blues, and the other blue that is listed. So essentially, you have the ability of creating your own spectrum. That definitely is something worth noting. And you also now have the ability of controlling these lights through the MXM module, through the Apex. So, with controllability comes a lot of margin for error that you can do. So I will say the Orphic lighting, only being able to dim the bars, kind of locks in the spectrum they've decided is best for their lights and for your core growth. And when it comes to the AI blades, you have the ability of using the profiles they included, which has been researched, or creating your own colors, your own spectrum, your own, look of your tank, which was definitely attractive to me, especially when you consider the color blending they offer from those lights. So last but not least, and I say not least because ultimately this is the most important part of selecting lights for your tank. Doesn't matter how controllable they are, how dimmable they are, the power coming out of them. Most lights on the market are going to provide something that's going to grow corals and are going to be strong enough for that. Ultimately, how does the tank look? How does the corals look underneath that said light? So I do have some older clips of the Orphic lights on the tank with a few corals, not the amount of corals I have today, but enough to give you a good idea of how it looked. And then you can kind of scroll back through the video back and forth and kind of compare how the corals looked on camera versus, with the AI blades. Now, we'll tell you this,
one thing I noticed, the Orphek lighting is very, very camera friendly. So it's hard to really make a judgment off video from these lights after seeing them in person. I would say if you were someone selling corals, Orphek lighting under the camera is going to make your stuff look way different than it does underneath the AI blades. And that's not saying they look different in real life. That's just saying you can display them different when it comes to social media. So that's the first thing I want to mention to you. But when it comes to the corals themselves, to the naked eye, it is a small difference in the punch that the Orpheks supply at the corals. It's more like they're punching color into the water. It's more of an aggressive coloration to the tank, if that makes sense. And it's definitely something worth mentioning. Now, besides the bars kind of not blending as well, once the corals get hit with that light, there's no denying how good they look underneath the Orphek lighting. So now, what about the AI blades? Well, here it is, guys. I mean, you can see an obvious difference. Now, the difference, I would say the biggest difference to notice, it's more of a matte kind of flatter style lighting. I've never had T5s on a tank before, but I would imagine that the Orphek LEDs really still looks like a LED hitting your tank, but the AI blades does give you that smooth kind of flat coverage and coloration to the tank. So it's two different types of lighting. One's more aggressive, one is more softer. They both provide a great look to the tank, but for some reason, the AI blades are just not as camera friendly. I have been trying to find the correct setting on the lights that allows me to, record the tank to give you guys a good idea, but this is the best I came up with. What I will tell you, the tank looked great underneath both lights, and the biggest difference was going to be the blending of the lights underneath the blades versus the Orphek. So, I mean, could you get away with both? Could I have been satisfied with the Orpheks? Yes, I could have if I never tried the blades. And I'm just keeping it 100 with you guys. Once I tried the blades on the tank, it took a second to kind of adjust to the difference of it not being as aggressive. But when I looked at the tank and I visually could not identify where a blue bar was or a white bar was on the system, I was sold at that point. I know you're going to be missing some of the reds and greens, which may bring out additional colors in the fish. I'm not sure how much of a difference that's going to do as far as coral growth and coloration. I'm not that advanced in the hobby. I'm just kind of giving you guys firsthand experience of how I feel the tank looks. So, and honestly, it looks pretty damn dope underneath the AI blades. And that was the main reason I made the change. So having the controllability of being able to interface the blades with the MXM module through my Apex, having a one-stop shop was definitely a major factor in the change. And the second reason was going to be the overall look of the tank. Now, there is one topic I did not discuss. It was going to be the PAR. And really, because it really doesn't make a difference with either of these lights, you're going to have plenty of PAR from either. And you're never going to run either of these lights at 100%. I was able to accomplish the same amount of PAR I needed from my system, around 350 or so PAR at the surface and around 150 or so on the sand bed with both lights at different heights, which worked for me. The AI blades, I was able to accomplish that at around 50 to 60% intensity, and I was able to accomplish that with 50 to 60% intensity with 5 OR 3 bar or OR 90 bars, but those bars were at 16 inches above the tank, and instead the blades are at around 8 or 9 inches above the tank. So I say that's purely anecdotal and it's not really worth mentioning. But what I will say is I believe that both of those lights are strong enough to stand alone, and if I was to be honest, the Orphek lights were a little more dangerous because they were more of a focus light that penetrated the tank very deeply. So if you do have a deeper tank, I would say Orphek may be the better route to go because of the optics, being a 90-degree optics shooting straight down versus the AI blades, which gives you a wider spread, which may also, require you to put a floating canopy on the tank like I did. So, but I'm kind of rambling at this point. I just want to make sure I cover a majority of the main talking points between these two lights. And I'm hoping by the end of this video, you're slightly confused, meaning both lights had their shine, both lights had their positives, both lights had some negatives. And hopefully it's helped you make your decision and answered your question on why I changed lights. So at this point, hey, you guys can keep doing what y'all do. Y'all be easy and happy reefing. Catch you guys next time. Peace.